are here at Qlik Connect, and I am joined by the fabulous Mary Kern. She is the VP of Product Go-to-Market for Qlik. Yeah, some really big announcements today. One that we keep seeing over and over again is that AI is embedded more and more in analytics.
Yeah.
And so how do you make sure the relationship between what analysts have, which is amazing human judgment, and really what machines do really well, which is machine learning, how do you balance those two?
It's a really interesting question. There's a couple things we do, and I would say right now, a lot of the agentic experience we've rolled out so far has really been designed for business users, the people who are consuming the data and the insights to make better decisions. You go to a dashboard or an analytics and you'd see a visualization or a chart and you'd get a little description of what that meant, and then you'd be like, okay, what am I going to do with this? How do I take this back to the business and make an optimization? What kind of optimization do I do? Now, I think with agentic for business users, like taking advantage of that large language models, whenever you're doing analytics, one question always leads to another question, and then another question. And so it's really great that you can kind of do that brainstorming with the large language model anchored in your data. You can see the reasoning throughout. You can see what sources it's getting as well. You can see if it's pulling from your internal data, unstructured data, versus if it's bringing in something in terms of general knowledge. I think for the analysts, it's now getting interesting because now we're also releasing this year the agentic experience for all the developers and builders, for them to have that really powerful tool to help them create those types of experiences. And so same thing, they'll have that tool for them, but I think they'll actually have a higher level of expertise in terms of, business users. I'm a business user. I mean, we could be a little sloppy sometimes, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's what it says.
Yeah, we're just trying to get those answers really quick, right?
That sounds good.
Yeah. But especially if it supports my opinion. I really like
right?
those ones.
You're like, I need an answer fast for the board. Like, that's great. And I think in terms of when you go to analysts, right, it's a little bit more of a discerning eye. So I think it's going to be a powerful productivity tool for them. And then also we'll be looking to bring more tools available for them to be able to check the answers. When people do ask a question, when they get an answer, is that right? Is that verified? So I think their job is going to change a little bit, but I think they're going to be more discerners, always human on the loop there, just to make sure what is being made available is actually rock tight, because the other people who are using it are a little bit more flippant about it. You know what I mean?
So something we heard a lot in the keynote this morning was about context. And that seems like everybody was talking about context, but we also went beyond context to talk about trust and freedom, which I thought was really important. How does making sure you have the right context, which you mentioned, really enable that trust and freedom aspect? And how do you guys do it with the Qlik product?
Such a big question to unpack.
In 30 seconds or less.
Well, I do think there's a couple elements at play. So, I mean, everybody kind of thinks about the trust first, because the trusted data is also what feeds into your analytics. And so making sure all that data that you have to work with, even the unstructured data that might be in a knowledge base, is curated, it's up to date, it's the latest, right? We know where it came from, we know who changed it last. So that's really the important context of the trusted data that's fueling your data products, that's actually increasingly fueling your analytics and your AI.
So something we all are dealing with constantly is a to-do list that is like way too long and so many things to get done. Yeah. And we are all loving AI because it helps us accomplish those things. But sometimes we can get a little bit of work slop from it. And also we need to make sure we're validating and trusting what is being said. How do we make sure that users are using AI where it's good, but also really validating those results?
Because, increasingly in our jobs, right, we're using generative, and you're like, it's amazing how much you can get productivity gains. But also there's a lot of onus on you to make sure for that research was that, is that a real thing? Did you like to go out and check it? And so I do think it's a bit of a muscle that we're all going to build up in the coming years. Is it overly positive? You know what I mean? Like the large language models give you a bit of a positive answers. I think when you're looking at general knowledge brought in from the large language model, or you're just using one in general, it's really important to make sure you got those things in mind, because it's kind of trying to please you and get you an answer, even if it has to make it up to make you happy. When you're working in a system like Qlik on your applications, it's a little bit different because of the way we can work with all the models to prioritize and rank your data and information, make sure it's service at first, make sure that we've reduced hallucinations. So it kind of depends on what tool you're working on, but it's a best practice I think we'll all have to build. Have a discerning eye.
Yes, I love that you probably have a very discerning eye given your background in predictive analytics. So Where do you think analysts are going to be spending more of their time if they're not, having to create a model from scratch like in R, like I did back in the Stone Age? But where is their time going to be spent?
It's really interesting because I think as an analyst, when it comes to analytics, predictive, right? Everybody's a bajillion use cases for predictive analytics, right? I mean, if you've got a question, you can probably put a predictive model to that to help answer, right? There's literally a bajillion use cases, and it's really hard to get to all those use cases in an organization. So I do think analysts will be able to have a massive productivity gain. They'll be able to apply their talents to more interesting use cases, more use cases. You're also going to be where you have like those intrepid, tech savvy business users who are creating stuff on their own. Like even for us, even though we have like Predict and, the Predict agent, which makes it easier, you're probably going to want to have like a data science or an analyst go back and like check that stuff. And is that like enterprise ready that we'd actually deploy that, or, predictive, deploy it into a system, really do real-time predictions. And that's
the hard part.
It's quite a different thing. It's one thing just saying, hey, where do you think my quarter is going to land in 6 months? It's another thing to say, hey, let's score all these high volume, high velocity transactions coming in for fraud.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And is that something that you really want Mary Kern doing? Probably not.
But that's where machines are great, right?
Yeah, but they can help build that, and they can get you there so much faster. So I think the analyst job is definitely going to change a little bit for all of us. I hope our jobs get a little bit more creative and a little less drudgery in terms of action to create the model.
I'm not going back to building our models from scratch anymore anytime soon. Those days are long gone. Mary, how's your Qlik Connect going so far?
It's just getting started, but it's going great. So we just came off a fantastic first day main stage where we teed up. We had our CEO deliver remarks. Very big for me, very important. We just did the product keynote where we've announced, just reminded everyone of all the amazing agentic capabilities we've released in the last year and all the many, many to come.
So how do you think that AI will support the democratization of analytics?
I honestly think it's going to be huge. So I do think analytics, the holy grail, has always been about supporting decisions and decision making, getting to better decisions. And we just have gotten to the point that there's too much data for really a human to process it. Then again, even though like all the technology has gotten a bit better, like predictive, okay, we have new ways of building models, we have better ways of building models. Now we're just going to go to marketplace to pick the models, right? And everything has legitimately gotten better, but it's still too hard for most people. When I was at an organization, was in a different role and deploying analytics, and it was such a shock. Most people actually don't want to do analytics. They don't want to look at a chart. They don't know what it means. They don't know what they're supposed to do with it. And so like I left the analytics market and came back. I left for about 5 years and I came back because I'm like, now it's getting somewhere where you really like get to that point where everybody can just ask a question and get the answer they need, because they don't need to know how to ask the question that you would have to evoke the fields of data, right? You can ask a totally messy question. You can ask compound questions. It's going to have grammatical errors. You don't have to know what data you need. You don't have to need to know what application, and you definitely don't have to need to know what kind of technique is being used on the back end, right? Which is all the things you would need to know to answer a question. And you don't need that anymore. So I think it's hugely powerful.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If we could all get over our math trauma and actually start using data and information to make decisions.
It would make math really fun. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the power of math. And it's all math underneath, and it's amazing. Now you just don't have to do it. Amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mary. This has been fantastic. I'm excited to go check out some of the demos.
Thank you so much. It's been a ton of fun.
Amazing.
Thank you, everyone.